Jacob, home field has so much new stuff, especially for March and March Madness. They came in with new jerseys, like new retro jerseys, which are super, super cool. They always have the best stuff. I bought a home field shirt a couple years ago, and it still looks brand spanking new. And I got more home field stuff on the way. I absolutely cannot get enough of home field apparel.
If you're a NASCAR fan, actually, they have some throwback gear on their site too
Yeah.
right now. So tap in, home field. If you want to support the show, use code SQUARE at checkout. You get 15% off if you're a first time orderer, or you get 10% off if this is if you're just a home field addict. That's code SQUARE at checkout. There's one company, Andy, that we trust to put our own merch out there into the world and who we firmly believe is coming on top this football season. That's elitesports.com. They support athletes directly. They make custom stuff for us and for them. So how could we not be on board?
We got friends who have bought the crew necks. I always wear my Elite Sports squaring around hat. Got to support the brand. Use code SQUARE at checkout for a 10% discount. Not too shabby. EliteSports.com. They support the athletes and they support us. So go support them.
Thanks for squaring.
Yeah, we literally
you had this conversation. I wasn't on the pod yet when you guys started talking about.
No, you literally
had this conversation.
I jumped into the conversation when it was already ended.
I know.
I
brought you in and I said, Andrew, me and Colton love you.
Did I have my headphones
you.
on?
That's why.
Did I have my headphones on?
Wait, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
You're just choosing not to listen to us, which is why we're talking to you about the face of addiction. That's why me and Colton are wearing the same clothes right now. We want the best for you, Andrew.
Anything else? Okay. So Jacob and fucking Colton decided to dress like the twins from The Shining, wear the same clothes. Love to see that. Spring game was this past weekend. Saw you both. Was happy. After the spring game, I don't know if I told you guys this. Car got broken into. Like
yours?
Right after the spring game.
No.
Yeah. Parked it in my apartment complex. Come out Sunday morning.
Damn.
I'm thinking, all right, good shit.
That's why you're on 10 already.
Yeah. No, I've been talking to police the last 3 days.
And you're a big don't talk to police guy because you're white.
Look when they come to the door and I got the ACAB sign up, and it's like, so this is who you call when.
Yeah. Good thing you're not in fucking Oregon. Those guys might have never come.
I know. Well, I'll be honest with you. This apartment complex, I enjoy living here. Ironically, had a friend come by.
You told me you live on the nice side of town. I guess that's
I
fucking,
do live on the nice side. You live in downtown underneath the bridge.
So okay, I live in actual San Antonio. I don't know what that's
pretty good. So they come by and they're like, "Oh, nice neighborhood, great apartment complex." We go to my car, broken into. I was like, "Very cool, very cool." Talk to the apartment managers. What do they say? If you want to see the video, it's going to be subpoenaed. What are we talking about? I can't see video of my car getting broken into. Nope. Police are the only people who can see it. So I'm not exactly thrilled. I'm going to a body shop Thursday to get like an estimate.
So how'd they break into it? It was a window?
So this is where things are interesting. So if you know anything about me, Colton, you know that I don't have automatic locks. Who was I with on Saturday? Jacob Rodriguez. No windows were broken, so they had to come through a door. And I think what happened was we unlocked that passenger door for Jacob, and then I didn't think about it when I left, and they just opened up that passenger door. Yeah. So tore up my steering column.
Damn.
Nothing got stolen. Nothing got stolen, but they did try to take the car, which I was like, look.
That's crazy.
The nicest car, but
so you need a gun, is what you need.
Yeah, pretty much. I need to stay strapped. These streets, man, they're dangerous.
Yeah, dude. I always lock my door. There's but does not lock most of his car doors out.
Well, he's gonna tell him this story, kids. Let me tell you, San Antonio. You come to San Antonio, you best not be playing because you might get robbed. So. Nothing was stolen. Thankfully, the car is fine. I have to go to a body shop and have them check out the steering column and stuff because, when people are messing with wires, I don't think anything got messed up, but you don't want to be driving down the interstate and having like your car steering wheel, like just lose power steering because somebody decided to mess with your wires. So anyway.
Hey, well, Zim, you already needed some work done in your truck. So you could just be like, hey, This is part of the thing. They messed that up too.
I said, hey, they took out the spark plugs. I don't know what happened. It's crazy. But I turned the car on. The check engine light came on. I was like, oh man, they got my Cadillac converter. And I don't think they did because the check engine light went off immediately. So I think I'm good. I think everything's fine. But these streets, they be mean. I don't know what to tell you.
By the way, on our way back from the spring game, Zimmel drove, right? We do this carpool system where I go to San Marcos.
Well,
he goes to San Marcos.
we might be taking your car more often now.
Oh no, we can't go to San Marcos for a little bit. But anyway, we're on our way back. Zimmel's like, hey, Jakey, I think we're going to make it to the gas station. I'm riding on fumes right now. So Andrew, not noted car guy for sure. Like he does not take care of his whip, but you know, I'm sad that you're going through this struggle, bro.
When I went to pick you up, because I had to go downtown before I went back north because somebody doesn't know directional compass, Jakob Rodriguez.
We had a pre-production meeting at dinner the day before.
I thought to myself, I was like, I should fill up the tank. I think I'm good, but I should fill up the tank. And in the morning, I just didn't. I kind of forgot about it. And then when we were in San Marcos, I was like, all right, I should get some gas. And I was like, I think we'll be fine. It was fine. We rolled into a gas station and I had a gas deal and I had Jakob. So if we had to push, I had another set of hands. So I was
in the shithole of America, which is downtown San Antonio, according to Zoom.
No, I would put
there are worse places to be than downtown San Antonio.
No, downtown Austin, much worse.
That place does suck. You're right.
Tired of winning the tailgate but losing the games? We can't help that. But we can tell you what the hell is up with each team and what's going on across sunny San Marcos. Texas State fans, get on your feet. You're listening to Squarin' Around with Jakob Rodriguez and Andrew Zimmel.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Squarin' Around. I'm Jakob Rodriguez. That's Andrew Zimmel, the Texas State Sports Press. This week, we're joined by Colton McWilliams of the San Marcos Daily Record. We're here to talk about all things spring game and beyond. So all three of us are out at the spring game. I've equated this to pretty much just like back to school for all the writers. And it's like everybody who was going to cover the spring game and everybody who will also not cover the entirety of the 2024 season was also at this thing. So we all got our best look at the team, basically.
Give me your list. Let's go through it. The people who will be there every week versus the people who won't.
Us three, for sure. A few others, also
Mike
for
Craven.
sure. Yeah, Craven was there. That was a crazy celebrity guest sighting.
Yeah, exactly. I look across the field.
And then it turned into like a ribbing, like a roast ceremony during the press conference.
I
was like, what the hell is going on here?
I think my first goal was obviously to get Mike and Kev here. Got them here for the spring game. They, I haven't seen them in a while, so that was good to get them here and check it out. That was probably the first goal, and then the second goal was to stay healthy. That was my second goal of the spring game. I think it's always good to get these guys and like that game type atmosphere. Like I said, just we got a bunch of new guys that I was telling them like, hey, this ain't El Paso anymore. Like they're looking up, oh, we got fans. It's one of those deals. Like it's a good deal. So it's been fun.
Craven shows up for one deal. And then somehow our recording, Squarin' Around's recording, became the recording of record for the player interviews. I don't know how that happened, but shout out Chris Coots, our boy. We're here on the Republic of Football Podcast Network to break everything down. Do we want to start at the point of the obvious? I guess quarterback play or Texas State possibly having the best defense in the Sun Belt? What do you guys think?
Stop it. We do this shit every year.
Every year. Get on here and say the same thing.
We could take last year's episode legitimately word for word and run it back and be
pretty much. But the thing is about last year, like I feel like I got a lot out of last year's events versus this year. I was just kind of like, just guys working out. Like they're just hanging out. I don't know.
So we talked to the strength and conditioning coach who made it a point to say that if Jakob wants to come watch dudes work out, he's more than capable of it. The open invitation for anybody, not for anybody, but for Jakob to watch dudes lift.
Just me.
I think that's one of the best parts of the job. I think that's a perk. seeing dudes get the.
Them all
get the
like
grind
seeing
on, getting
dudes
the
work
grind on.
out.
Because I know
You're on
if
the
I
record
see-
as
if I
watching
see
guys
you
work out. You like it.
Hell yeah! If I see a dude throwing around 500 pounds in the weight room, I know he's gonna be throwing around roadrunners on
You're
the
like,
field.
come on. I
Yeah.
think you could do one more.
I think you could do one more. I think you could do
I think
two.
you could do. I think somebody over there told me you could not do one more.
Streets are saying that you can only bench 225 30 times. I don't know. That's just what the streets are saying.
Do you need a spot?
I
I'm
look
Andrew.
across, yeah, because I'm a good weightlifting partner.
Yeah,
I don't know why we're not gonna diss Zimmel for being a good weightlifting partner.
Oh yeah, you're in the gym 24/7, buddy.
Let me tell you, when I am in the gym, I'm out here. When I'm in the gym, I'm out here helping my brothers out. I'm not doing jujitsu trying to break dudes' arms. I'm just saying.
true.
Some
Look
people are
at
helping,
him.
some people
Freaking
hurt.
bruises all over my freaking arm, dog.
Yeah, but that's from getting beat up by the 12 and under group.
Dead ass.
I look across the field and I see a man in a salmon shirt because I'm looking for Jacob because I'm like, where the hell did my videographer go? And there he is talking to Mike Craven. I was like, I'm glad.
Craven
no
hugged
intel,
me.
which is insane. I would not touch you with a 10-foot pole. So that's
Especially after
crazy.
shooting for a couple hours. I was a little sweaty.
Oh yeah. So it was good. I mean, look, we bring Colton on to have him talk football with us. What were your thoughts, Colton?
I mean, since I've seen like the spring practice from like start to finish the spring game, it was basically kind of the same. I guess the one thing that kind of did impress me was seeing how much the defense kind of progressed, because when they first started, they were obviously getting kind of torched by the offense, but as later and later spring practice kind of went on, you saw the defense kind of get better and get better. Like the last spring practice I saw before the spring game, it was really the first time the defense kind of bowed its neck. It was actually making a couple of stops, making a couple of turnovers. So it was, to me, that was kind of the big positive I took out of spring practice. Like the defense, but where they started, you're losing Brian Holloway, you're losing Dan Foster Jr., your two main linebackers, you're losing a couple of defensive linemen, you're also losing a couple of defensive backs. So to see them kind of progress to where they were, like at the spring game, they made a couple of stops against the offense to start things off. It was really good to see, like, okay, the defense, because I really wasn't worried about the offense, because the first, you talked to a couple of people when spring practice first started. Jordan McLeod literally slipped in to the starting role and was lights out. Like, it was like, it's the closest thing you can have to having a starting quarterback return from last season. That wasn't, even though McLeod wasn't even on the team. But yeah, it was mainly, the focus was really the defense for me, because this was a team that was replacing a lot of starters, and to see them kind of get better and better as spring practice got on made me really happy to see. And now it's now we just enter the next stage. You're like, okay, go into off-season workouts and go into the fall.
First of all, humble flex, because Colton was like, well, I've seen spring practice from the very beginning, so I know what's up. And second of all,
I've done my job. What a flex. Okay, cool.
And second of all, is Texas State's defense like shoring up right during the spring practice a bad omen for the offense in general? Because that's what like defenses did to us all last year. They just got progressively better as the season went on. Like, good or bad? I guess that just happens too, because once you get films on dudes, once you start watching dudes work out, you're like,
Let me boil that down. Teams got better over the season.
Teams got better over time, yes.
Yeah, I'd hope so. I mean, I think Texas State got better over time. GJ Kenny would tell you that.
Sort of. I don't know. We lost a couple weird fucking games that was like.
Oh, I don't know. Do you think that? Well, I think.
I still think Coastal and Arkansas we should have had.
I think, but to say that they didn't get better from week 1 to week whatever 10, I don't know. I feel like they got better.
No, you're right. Okay, but how do you explain Nevada though? That was a weird fucking game too, and that was week 3.
In week 3, I don't know, man. To say that they didn't get better would be incorrect.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, you're right.
So, but to talk about this defense, okay, so Texas State's defense forces what, like 4 turnovers, Colton? Am I right there? 5
at least
in the spring game?
Something like that. Yeah, because I do remember
we didn't keep official score, did we?
No.
Anybody else keep official?
No.
We were all on the ground watching this. None of us watched it from the press box. At one point, I went to go get my camera bag from upstairs, and there was literally just a strange man there. I've never seen him before in my life, and he was acting like I shouldn't be there. I was like, "Who the fuck are you, man?" Anyway, I got my camera bag, got the hell out of there. That's what
crazy.
happened.
Jacob just shading boosters.
Hey, never know.
I will. Okay, so Texas State defense forces like 4 or 5 turnovers
At least.
Your defense will always be better than your offense coming in the spring, because defenses generally know what the schemes are earlier, because you're not adding or taking away a ton of stuff. You're just kind of moving pieces around. Where the offense, you are scheming completely different things. Jordan McLeod, Colton, high praise to say that this is essentially the same as a guy coming back for year 2, even though he hasn't played at Texas State before. To say like, oh, he feels comfortable in the offense, that's great for fans to hear. But he is still learning the offense. New wide receivers are still learning the offense. Offensive linemen are in different positions. So to see 4 or 5 turnovers doesn't shock me in a spring game. Now, if they were bad picks, I think back to a couple years ago when Tyler Vitt threw a couple just in between the number picks. Brady McBride, love you to death, brother. Had us out a couple of spring game picks that I was like, what the hell is going on here? I don't come out of the spring game feeling less confident in the offense. Does that make sense, Jacob?
No, I get you. Yeah. I think that I was really, I guess what did not drop off completely was wide receiver stuff. They're great. Cole Wilson did not play. Ben Bell did not play. I think Ben Bell was interviewed. So they had a bunch of like interview stuff. The format of it, I didn't even know we started really. So if you're listening to this at home, you couldn't make it. You were in Dallas or something. Sorry, because you probably were like, what the fuck is going on? Because that's how I felt. And I was there. But they basically just broke down to different position groups to start everything off. Special teams first. Then they broke down into, wide receivers and Qs and running backs and
Offense,
whatever,
defense.
offense, defense,
Yeah,
bullshit. And then at the end is when they did that scrimmage where they basically start from the 50-yard out and then just go either way onto, into the end zone. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I still really didn't get a lot from it, basically, is what
I did.
Yeah.
I think I had some takeaway. Colton, do you have like a numbered takeaway? Like, do you have a certain amount of takeaways from this spring game?
I think one of my main takeaways from this is like what I was talking about earlier, just the defense actually kind of bowing its neck, making a couple of stops here and there and all of that stuff. And also, for me, the main takeaway is like for a lot of people, this is the first time seeing McLeod in person and how like he runs the offense and all of that stuff. And I think it's always important to see like from a fan's perspective, like who because no one really knows. Like we know McLeod, Sunbelt Player of the Year, but like how is he going to operate in this offense? And for the people that are not like journalists and all of this stuff, like not seeing the practice a lot, this is their first time seeing like, okay, this is how he operates, this is how he moves, because it's a really stark contrast, like how McLeod operates to how much TJ Finley operates. They're two very, even though they operate in the same system, they have two very modes of operandi that they operate under. Finley, 7 foot tall, like maybe not the most mobile quarterback. Like we can go back to the mobile quarterback argument, but like he, it's obviously a different style of play. But with McLeod, the best way someone described McLeod to me was he's almost like a point guard on the football field. He's someone that's going to move the ball, that's going to continuously get this offense down the field, which is really great to see. And it's someone they also talk about his veteran experience, because a lot of people, for being a 6th year, 7th year, I don't know how many years he has, but
yeah, this is
he operates.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Get a job. You're a grown man.
Continue, Colton.
But no,
Indeed.com is free.
But no, he took this offense really well, and it's like that was kind of the most impressive thing I saw from him. It's like comes in first, like, and he comes in and just like, oh yeah, this is nothing new to me. So I think it was really good to see. And it was also with that wide receiver room, because Cole Wilson didn't get to do much in spring practice. It was kind of another opportunity to see a lot of those younger wide receivers kind of step up. I know one of the bigger names, like one of the freshmen that just literally played high school football in the fall, was an early enrollee, Colin Evans. You heard a lot of really positive stuff about him. There's one of the wide receivers from Mesquite Horn. He was a freshman. He got some playing time last year, kind of saw towards the end, towards South Alabama, but he was someone that really stood. And it really showed to me like how much depth the running back room and the wide receiver room really is. I mean, we go to the running back.
That was nuts.
I like where you're going with this, but I do want to put a little asterisk here. No major takeaways, and Colton's been talking for 5 minutes. All right. So I think there are some takeaways. Please continue, Colton.
it was really stunning to see like how stacked both running back and wide receiver really are. If we look at the running backs, Ishmael, he didn't play because of the flu, but you had our two UTEP running backs in Torrance Burgess Jr., Deion Hankins, but also a name that really didn't get talked about a lot was Jalen Jenkins from Wazoo. He graduated from Allen High School. I actually played under Coach Morris when Coach Morris was briefly the head coach at Allen High School. But that's another name that really popped up, was like someone who really stood out. But you're talking about a running back room that's got 5 really good running backs in the wide receiver room, going 4, maybe 8 deep now. I mean, that's really impressive to see where this, like how stacked everyone is. And you're not much as like rebuilding. It's more like you're reloading at every position.
So McLeod, we only saw I think 2 tunnel screens during the entire spring game. I was keeping track because I gave our guy Chris Kuntz a little bit of grief. I said it wouldn't be a Texas State spring game without a tunnel screen. I saw a lot of throws in the middle of the field. TJ Finley was more of an outside the numbers type of quarterback. He was a guy that wanted to take a big shot. Jordan McLeod felt much more, like you said, point guard. Hey, we're going to get guys open. Hey, guys are going to make hard, tough, tight breaks back in the middle of the field. That to me is what's interesting, because the way that you make that work is you have to have linebackers who are going to cheat in. And the only way you can have linebackers that cheat towards the line is a great running game. To have the running back room that Texas State potentially could have on paper right now, I should say, going into the season, I feel pretty good. Now, all of this to be said, the cloud over all of it.
The McLeod over all of it.
The McLeod over all of it is the transfer portal opens back up again here. And,
Yes.
and a lot of the dudes who look good could not pretty. They could take the film from the spring game and turn around and be like, hey, SMU, hey, UNT, hey, Toledo, I got good film. Here's me catches and passes. Here's
which is why and how actually Derek Brown is in the transfer portal now, our DN.
Exactly.
But
So,
I was talking to Craven about this too on the sidelines. I was like, I guess in this day and age, Craven, this is my boomer take of the day. Like, you really can't do shit at the spring game anymore, because then if dudes have a good day, in the portal tomorrow, pretty much.
Well, and this is the thing I was thinking about when we were driving home, Jake. Okay, so let's say I have a great spring game and I decide to go somewhere else, or whatever, right?
Yes.
If I'm a head coach, hey, do I want to see my quarterback out there? Do I want to see my number 1 receiver, my number 1 running back out there? It's nice to see what they can do. It's nice to get them some reps. But would I rather have them on the bench just so that, hey, the film that they have are from our spring practices and maybe 20 minutes, 10 minutes of them doing game time stuff? Because the less film, and it sucks that you have to think this way, because as a coach, you want to big up all your players. But the less film that I have, for these guys, I see him in my training room. I see him on my field. I see him in my weight room every day. I know what they have.
Which is where we need to start paying refs at the spring game to be like, hey, that didn't count. Great play. Didn't count. So
Holding.
Call it back.
But I mean, but seriously, and I'd like to get your thought on this, Colton. Should we not have a transfer portal post spring game? Let's say 20th of April. Because that, I think, is the last time that a lot of these teams are playing spring games. 20th of April at 4 p.m. is when the transfer portal closes until the beginning of football season to start 2024. Do we just have a dead period or should we keep it the way it is?
It's tough. I agree with you saying it. I guess I also see from the other side, if you let's say your player A transfers to State University, or let's say with Tech University.
Well, let's talk about
you go in
TJ Finley last
year.
Okay. TJ Finley last year comes during the summer. That doesn't happen if the portal's closed. But at the same time, Brown's not going in the portal if it's closed either.
Yeah, I guess it's just a double-edged sword, because there may be someone who goes to a university, they're sold an idea, they come in and it's like, oh, this is not exactly what I'm hoping for. I'm not meshing with the teammates, I'm not meshing with the coaches and all that stuff. Maybe I can go. It's hard to decide whether it's really good or not, because I guess me personally, if you don't want to be there, I'm not we don't need to force someone to be there. Like, if that makes sense. I guess from my feeling with the team, from what I'm viewing from Texas State, it seemed, from my point of view, it looks like everyone who's, committed to play is going to stay at Texas State. I don't think we're going to see, like, let me knock on wood.
Yeah, knock on wood there.
Yeah, I got an ESPN notification about Derek Brown this morning at 8 a.m. I was like, what the hell? How are we here? We're here. Wow, people give a shit about our transfers in and out. That's funny. By the way, we're talking about Jordan McLeod. You guys were confused if he was 6 year, 7 year. We're talking about a dude whose freshman year was 2018. My brother, that was his freshman class, 2018. Now, my brother, same dude, by the way, is getting his master's degree at Texas State in May. So he's at the same level Jordan McLeod is. So Jordan McLeod was a freshman in 2018. That was with USF. He was there until 2020. Then he spent 2 years at Arizona. He was there till 2022. We all know about the year he had last year, James Madison. That was 23. He's listed at 200 pounds, 6 feet. I think he lies on Tinder. I think potentially, too, this could be the last year that Texas State goes from being like a mercenary quarterback to having some homegrown, potentially PJ Hatter or Brad Jackson out of San Antonio.
I'm going to push back on that. Push back on that. I think GJ Kenny, you heard him during the press conference.
Yeah, we did.
The dude likes quarterback.
We've gone back and forth on it to give you a completely, true answer. I don't know, no coach speak. It's tough because, yeah, we feel really good about McLeod. I mean, the guy's done a lot of great things, and I think those other two guys are still competing. I do. I think you're at quarterback, you're always competing, and so PJ and Brad, they're still competing for the starting job. So, yeah, he went with the ones, and he's the guy, but you still got to compete, and you still got to feel that pressure. And, like, can you keep 3? Do you need 4? The old rule was 4. You got to have 4. You got to have 4. Now, I don't know. So we'll kind of see what that looks like and see what happens. I like quarterbacks.
So if there's an opportunity to get a guy who is, let's say,
wishful thinking on my part.
Remember
baby.
Brandon Whedon, Colton, the 28-year-old
Oh,
quarterback
yes,
for Oklahoma State?
Yep,
I think that if it was up to GJ Kenny, he would go and get whoever. You can have a 45-year-old quarterback coming out of like Southeast Asia, and if he can throw the rock, if he can spin it, he's going to be on the field. McLeod, he said something during the press conference. I had to hold back a guffaw, a chuckle, a laugh, where he said that San Marcos cares about their football.
Oh, it was fun. I know this is a big football town. People love their football here at Texas State, and I can't wait to the first game versus Lamar. What is it? August 31st, and obviously I know it's gonna be a packed house, and I'm ready for it.
Recent development.
That is.
Yeah, Marcos cares about football. I
have been to a Rattler game before. God bless them. It's a big stadium. Not a lot of people were there. Texas State in the last decade, let's call it decade, right? Let's go back 2014. FBS. Not really care about their football. Don't really care about their football. This is a new development, and the fact that he can get up to the podium and lie because he doesn't know, right? Like, he doesn't know. All he knows is the video that we posted last year. The place was rocking. He doesn't know like what it was. The fact that we're at this point, I think it's huge. I think it's big. I think it's ginormous for recruiting, but also that we have players who are so locked into film and so locked in, they don't care. They don't care what the history of the place is. And the Barrick Neely thing, this is on the tail of that.
Oh, there you go.
Legend at Texas State. I will never say a bad thing about Barrick Neely. To say that people care, like to talk into an 18-year-old, I don't know, man. I don't know if that's moving the needle, but I like it. I'm
glad you brought this up too, because in that same video, I had a point about this last week and I didn't bring it up because, I wanted to be civil on the pod, for once. But Barrick Neely said, or I think it was Jordan McLeod who said he's a Chris Paul.
That's what I need you to do, bro. That's what I need you to do. You want to throw it, huh?
Yeah, I like
point
guard.
guard.
I like to be
point guard. I like it. I did that too, though. Nah, he is a point guard, though, bro. Hey, when you said Chris Paul, though, you really are Chris Paul, though. I give you that. Smooth in the pocket, bro.
That's a bad comp. Chris Paul doesn't win shit. What important game has Chris Paul won?
Hey, I'll tell you, if we lose in a bowl game, That quote's coming
That's
back.
Chris Paul.
Put it on a graphic. No, I'm just saying, I think it was interesting. I'm happy. I know we joke about, like, you know, Texas State's fan engagement. They've done a much better job marketing the team, just across marketing all the teams across the board, but marketing football especially. So to be at this point where guys are like, yo, no, people care. That's huge for the university. That's big, considering that for the longest time we were not a basketball school or a soccer school or a softball school or we were a drinking school, and now we're finally turning into a football school. I think that's big. Colton?
Wait. Before you move on, sorry.
Before we move to Colton,
you also had a moment too with Jordan McLeod about Texas State potentially making to the college football playoffs. So you had a back and forth.
quote of the presser, I think, boys. Quote of the presser for sure. 100%.
I wouldn't say it was frustrations. Maybe because I'm a little bit older, it's not any frustrations. But you're gonna go somewhere where where you're gonna have a chance to compete. Obviously, nothing should be given in this world. Like, everything should be earned. But go somewhere where you have a chance to compete. Where it's not just for money or things like that, unless that's what you want. But for me, it was, I wanted to win. I wanted to go to a place where I can win, and get into the college football playoffs. That was big for me.
And you think Texas State can do that?
Definitely, 100%.
100%.
So Jordan McLeod basically was like, I think our goal is to make the college football playoffs. Full stop. Andrew said, and you think Texas State could do that? And he said, 100%. So, yeah, that was pretty much the thing for me, minus when Corey from KVU was like, hey, any good places to eat? And then we ended with an NIL plug.
Yeah, have you found any go-to spots yet around the city?
AJ's Road Ranch Barbecue.
Hey, hold on, but like the entire room, and Colton, correct me if I'm wrong here, but were you thinking to yourself, oh, brother, here we go, when he said 100%? You thought so? Okay. Because I was very civil. I did not say anything back. That was the end of the conversation, but I think everybody in the room was like, oh, this could be good. We could get a good back and forth here.
Well, and that's the difference between a 7th-year quarterback and somebody who's like taking the reins for the first time, because I think that could have gotten really bad too. But because he's so political, he was like, I got this. We're going through the way. That's the most annoying part to me about having a 7th-year quarterback, is you don't get some of those like fringe takes, you know? He's like, oh, I've listened to Squarin around. Let me get this take off real quick.
Hey, I know you fat ass. I heard what you said.
You bastard. Are you the one that doesn't like watching guys work out? I got a few things to say to you.
I got some thoughts. No, I mean, you're right. The political part of it. I think you were the one that said, I wish that we had less media training when it came to Texas State athletes.
Yes,
I personally,
much to Chris's chagrin, I did say that once.
I like the media training. I think that the guys who have come on the podcast to talk to us have been really good. They've been really open. I am curious to see if Jordan McLeod comes on the podcast. I'm very curious.
We didn't get TJ. I'm kind of sad about it now in hindsight.
Well, I think we're okay. I'd be curious to see if we get Jordan McLeod.
That's
for our ace booker, Jakob Rodriguez. We'll see if we can get now. Colton,
hey, I got Colton this week, so I'm back to our regular bullshit.
You just text us a group chat. Said, hey,
maybe next week is the week I can finally get Jessica Mullins and Sarah Vanderford.
Hey, I have a take about this at the end of the podcast, but we'll keep this moving.
All right,
Colton, you've been boxed out. Let's hear it.
Man, I love like everyone's putting these expectations like on this team now, because think about it, like before 23, do you like, is really anybody having these expectations of like Texas State making the playoff and all of that stuff?
No. To answer your question, absolutely effing not.
It would take a lot. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I guess going back to the fan support in Texas State and San Marcos, I guess the thing that I've kind of learned about it's like, if you want people to care about the stuff like happening against St. Marcus, you have to have a reason for people to care. Like, I mean, people cared about the 2005 season. People really care, 2012 when they were making the jump to FBS and we beat Houston and all of that stuff. I mean, I think 23 was really what told me is like, people can only put up with so much shit for so long until like they've had enough. And I feel like that was really why there was so little fan support, because the powers that be beforehand were literally serving like chicken shit and thinking like, oh yeah, people will turn out for chicken salad and all of that. And And it's the same with the high school. I mean, I was talking to Travis Bush. He's the new football head coach on UTRGV, and we were having a conversation because he was, his dad coached at San Marcos High School, and they said and he played at Southwest Texas State. They said he would see about 2,000 fans show up for a Southwest Texas State football game, a high school game when the Rattlers were finally getting thing going. The Buckhead Stadium would be sold out. That's kind of how powerful and this was when San Marcos High School hadn't made the playoffs in 30 years. So it's really about, you got to have people really care about this place. And I think that's been the sticking point with Don Coryell and Kelly Dampis, is making people care about. And I think Coach Kenny, you can loop him as well. They're getting people to care about this place. And I don't think you really saw that with the previous administration. It's like they didn't put in the effort to make people care about this place. I mean, now we're seeing, Southwest Texas State gear, with the baseball team, football team, they're selling T-shirts. I mean, you talked to someone 3 years ago, I don't think that thing's ever, they wouldn't even think about selling the Southwest Texas stuff.
Okay, which is a really good segue to a point. Southwest Texas State. Love the gear. Love that we're doing it. It's bullshit they didn't sell the old jerseys. This is the first year I've been back. They didn't.
They were selling the old jerseys.
Where was this?
It was literally so I was walking into the press box. Yes,
Wait,
when
by
you come
by
in,
the bouncy house? By the bouncy
yes,
house?
by the bouncy. Yes,
No,
because
no,
they were
no.
selling yes, no. I saw this with
Those were new jerseys. Those were new jerseys. They were $25 to $35 with the new hats. I'm happy they're making merch. I'm happy they're making money. I am disappointed I could not buy a 2014 KGT jersey. What are we doing? Where are the old practice jerseys for $10? This is not the Texas State I know and love. This is not the Texas State I know and love.
I'm not sure the old jersey sale was advertised though. I was looking back on what was
no, it wasn't,
or whatever for the spring game bullshit.
But you didn't offer
I will
it.
say I'll get a merch takeoff.
anything.
I hate those damn jerseys that look like soccer jerseys. What the hell are we doing?
But they didn't promote the spring game point blank, period. So I'm not shocked they weren't promoting the sold old jerseys.
Well, last year they had a crawfish boil or something too at the spring game and some other stuff. Was it a little ghettofied because of the construction going on? I think so. I think it's kind of tough to get people anywhere, in that stadium in general. Then you throw in literally physical barriers and you're like, probably for the best I'm not here, So I don't know. That was my feeling of it. Because I feel like people didn't even know where to go, really, at a certain point. It's not like there were little signs or anything. Not that if you were I want to go to the spring game, now I'm slightly prohibited. It's no, it's fine.
No, what was interesting is when Jacob and I were trying to get an elevator down from the press box, we couldn't, so we had to get our steps in and use the stairs. Shout out Athletic Feats. The people taking the elevator up were all going to the suites. And I don't know about you, Jacob. Those were more people than I've seen in that little area in a minute. To have that many, and look, I don't know how many people were in the suites. I'm just eyeballing it. I saw maybe 75 to 150 people. I think that's a good estimate of how many people were in those suites. To have boosters back watching the spring game, ginormous. That's big, considering for the longest time it was me and Jacob and Colton and maybe 45 other people. And then it's the parents of the kids are all sitting here watching the spring game. That's what it was a couple years ago. Now I think it's a lot better to have actual, I'm not saying we're not important. I'm not saying the parents aren't important, but actual important people who make differences in where this program goes when it comes to NIL money and everything else. That's big. That's big for GJ and crew.
I was shocked to see how many media people were at the press conference, because I don't think I've seen that many. I think I turned around. It was like the SpongeBob meme when Patrick's coming home, and I was like, Who are you people?
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's because you're used to just being you. You're used to it's just looking to your left, your right. Maybe a U-Star person shows up. Maybe KTSW. By the way, didn't see any of those guys. Just saying. I'm just Krantz. Call me. What's going on?
No, they were at that big award ceremony that day.
Oh, hey, look at that. Circle it around. Yep. Call it John Mulaney. Awards don't matter. Why are you at an award banquet when the spring games happen?
I think it's the biggest story
Dumb.
too. I would
Dumb.
if I had won first place at the damn award thing they were at, I would still be at the spring game. Well, but I also won first place at that same award show, baby.
Nobody cares.
No, I can confirm that University Star reporters were at the press conferences because
there was one dude who asked a question who for sure was in KTSW or something.
No, he was in the back. He was in the back row. Like, no, he was University Star because he had been coming to the press conferences too, and he was asking questions. So I was like, oh, yes.
The guy who was terrified.
You got a whole different problem going on then.
But if you count me too, there was 2 San Antonio stations at this presser too.
We don't count you. What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? That's what I do for a living over here.
You weren't there covering it for your station.
Double dipping.
No. That's insane. You were there with Squaring Around. I was there with Squaring Around.
I was credentialed with Squaring Around.
That is crazy. If you count me and the other, no, we don't. It was one podcast. One podcast was there. One blog was there. One magazine was there. A newspaper, 2 newspapers, one actual newspaper, one pretend newspaper, and 3 TV stations. That's what it was. So, I mean, for an FBS program, I'm not saying that that's great. I'm just saying that that's what it is.
Much better than last year, though, I'll say, because it was me, Colton, Kev, Zach, a TV station from Austin. I'm pretty sure it was Fox 7 because Dennis always sends people over here to cover shit. Corey, maybe from KVU. I don't know. It's significantly less cameras.
News team. Where's my Spectrum News team in Austin? They're everywhere except
San
Marcos, I guess.
That's where I go for my coverage of Texas State. Spectrum News Austin.
Yeah, man, I'm out here. Spectrum News.
Those guys are real boots on the ground. I've heard.
They are. In San Marcos, Texas, they got it covered.
Yep.
Don't diss my guys. Shout out Spectrum News, bro.
Oh yeah, they're doing. Didn't you have an internship over there or something?
No, I almost had a job there.
Oh, a job.
I almost had
they offered me an EP job before I moved to Corpus. So could you imagine me packing my boxes when I could have been a damn EP in Austin?
Dude, that sucks. That's an awful move.
Yeah. It's all about timing, baby.
So wouldn't have this podcast if you were an EP.
Dead ass. Probably would not have this podcast, or I would have done something for them, which is worse because at least we own this one.
So yeah, right. We're making tons of money on the back.
We are rolling in dough, baby.
Owning the IP of this is going to make us billionaires. All right, give me a grade, Colton, on the spring game from on the field, off the field, everything. What would you give a grade to?
Defense probably an A from seeing how they started to where they are now. Offense, I want to give them an A, but I also don't want to be too generous because I feel like I'm
grade spelling. Come on, defense got an A, offense got a B minus. Special teams, I saw him kicking some punts. Cool, we'll keep it moving. Incomplete.
I agree. Incomplete for special teams because we had I think Daniel DePrado was on like ahead of the spring game. I guess it would have been that Thursday before the Saturday spring game. And they were asking him like, "Hey, you guys really didn't punt last year? You're probably not going to do the same thing this year." And he was like, "Yep, no, doing the same shit this year." As far as special teams goes, we're going to be very aggressive down the field. So I think like with something like that, like, can you even say, I don't know, that's why I don't put a ton of stock into the spring game or anything around.
No, I really like, I don't like putting stock in the spring game too, because
you guys are awful as a content game. That's the difference between.
This is what I was saying before the spring game, though.
This is the difference between journalists, Mike Craven in that group, and entertainers. All right,
Zemmel in that other group.
Yeah.
With the Zemmel and the exotic dancers in one group, and me and Mike Craven in another group. Yeah,
me and the Ojos Locos girls get together and we talk about Texas State spring football, because you got to be excited. If you're like leaving and you're like, well, I don't know, I'm not putting a ton of stock into it, I got cool footage, I talked to some coaches.
I'm not saying that I'm not excited. I'm not saying that I'm not excited and all this stuff. Like I'm very excited about what this team can do. But kind of what talked to the coach, like at this point, like it is just potential. Like they have to face like another. I want to see them face like someone that's not in their, and that's kind of where I'm at. Like I really liked where the defense kind of progressed during spring practice and all that stuff. But I also want to see them like when they hit the field against Lamar, how they do in a game environment when it's not someone that's not their own jersey. And like, especially when it comes to the UTSA game, I think that UTSA game is going to be the real measuring stick of like, okay, how good can this team really be and all of that stuff.
That's where I'm at too. Because if we go out and kill a guy from Lamar, does it matter? You know?
Yes, because in years prior we got beat by Carter Word. Okay?
Yeah, it's fair.
What are we talking about? No,
you're right.
We're
not so far removed that those are the joys that we should be looking forward to. You're right. This is not a program that's so advanced that we're gonna make the college football playoffs. So that's an expectation at this point for this team.
This is the expectation. I mean, honestly, if we really wanted to be like, 100% real, to win a conference championship is not easy. Okay, to go and win the Sun Belt West this year is not going to be a cakewalk. So the expectations for this program, if you have them as a conference champion or as McLeod a college football playoff team, those are very lofty goals. So I come out of the spring game with a renewed sense of vigor. I come out of the spring game with a renewed sense of interest in the program. And I come out of the spring game with the thought that if this team does not win a bowl game this year, we have regressed. Like that is where the bar is right now, is to you gotta get to a bowl game, not 6 wins. To win it, it's a whole different ball game. So that's where the bar is now for this program. That's what I come out of the spring game with.
I think your car should get broken into a lot more. You are firing today, buddy. You're on all cylinders.
I'm not. I just, when Colton comes on, it's like, iron sharpens iron. You know what I mean?
At the spring game, I want to get this out of the way too, Zoom. Formal apology to Coach Ricky Woodard, the head coach of the softball team. Because Zimmo and I walked up to this lady. We told her, hey, we're going to cover your team today. Then I was stuck in a 3-hour luncheon with Mike Craven and Andrew Zimmel trying to save the Big 12 instead of covering the softball team. I look at my phone. The game is way over. It's been over for an hour at this point. So we missed the press conference. We missed everything. We will eventually get back to San Marcos and covering this damn team.
Craven, I know you're not listening to this podcast. I'm going to talk to you like you are. He acts like we tied him up and had a gun to his head, that he was on like the back of the white Bronco with.
I was. You guys tied me up in the back of the car.
It's like, he's calling me AC and OJ over here saying that we tied him up. It's like, no, dude. Like you learned a lot about college football.
I did actually.
Yeah. And
I had a wonderful time with 2 of my friends. It just was not planned that way,
Yeah, and I mean, look. The other part, let's be, you want to apologize to me. What are we talking about here? What are we talking about here when we talk about going to a softball game and they don't win, right? Was that not a 6-0 loss?
Yeah, they did get,
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're apologizing to people. You can apologize to Woodard. I want to apologize for the softball team because where are these bats at?
He did also tell us we're going to be better today. And
yeah.
Well,
so
sorry, Coach.
What if I pulled an Otani and I had some money on the game? I talked to a coach and they're telling me that the bats are heating up, and I'm like, oh, Texas State's got it, and then we get skunked.
Yeah. Now I lost my house, Coach Woodard. How do you feel now?
I can't live in my car because it keeps getting broken into.
That's fire.
So I'm just saying. I mean, like, I agree. I apologize. We should have been at the game, but you want to apologize to Colton. He didn't get to come and hang out with us. So,
that's true.
Colton,
yeah, he did text us. That's the reason I knew this game was over. Actually, Colton was like, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" I'm like, I'm neck deep in this argument into how do we save the Big 12 from here.
Colton, I apologize that you couldn't enjoy Herbert's with us. That's what I feel bad about.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about, speaking of softball, I don't know if you guys saw this clip today with Caitlin Clark.
What happened? Which one?
All right. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, the creepy journalist dude.
Yes.
What creepy journalist dude?
Oh my gosh.
Oh God.
All right. We'll send it. Here, you can edit this part out. I'll send it to you, Jake, and then you can watch it, and then we can discuss. We can watch it in real time.
All right.
Hi, Caitlin. Greg Doyle, Indy Star. Real quick, let me do this.
You like that?
I like that you're here. I like that you're here.
I do that at my family after every game, so.
Okay, well, let's start doing it to me and we'll get along just fine. So, question is.
What?
All right, that motherfucker.
Reporter. So the reporter did this. Threw up a heart sign?
Yep.
What the fuck? You like that? I like that you're here. Yeah, I do that at my family after every game. Start doing it to me and we'll get along just fine. What the fuck?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So I wanted to talk about this, and I wanted to talk about the coverage that softball and women's sports are getting. Okay. So as you know, big Title IX guy, Ally Andy over here.
Ally Andy, yeah.
Ally Andy is what they're calling me on the streets. I have been supporting women's sports for a minute now. Okay. And I have seen the growth of the WNBA. I have been covering women's basketball and softball, women's soccer and volleyball. I am a person who enjoys watching women's sports. And shit like that drives me up the wall. It drives me crazy because you get a bad, like, you already are getting a bad look as a dude covering these sports. And I know nobody talks about it, but like you already are getting kind of like a, why are you coming to volleyball practice? Why are you going to women's basketball? And like Texas State's never been like that to me, but I know that other people have kind of looked at me strange when it's like, hey, I like covering volleyball or I like covering women's basketball. So stuff like that makes all of us look real bad. And I want to put that out there because I'm seeing a lot of stuff with Jessica. And we joke about it. Jacob and I joke about it. Colton and I joke about it, right? And we're like, oh, fucking do-rag bobcat, huh? That's kind of weird, right? I see this stuff and I get it. You know, part of it's jokey, haha, whatever. But it makes me weird, man. I get kind of cringy about this stuff. And I saw that clip and I thought about it. And I was like, I want to talk about this with my boys. So, Colton, we'll start with you. You're at all these press conferences. Have you ever seen anything this weird?
That might be the weirdest thing. Like, when I first saw that, I had so many questions. Like, my first question, like, as a reporter, why would you do that to a professional athlete that you're covering? Like, because I had to do research because apparently, I guess this guy covers a lot of NBA, Indiana Fever games, and like, why would you do that? That is so.
So it's not even your first rodeo. Like, this isn't your first time.
That's his
like,
job, dead ass.
Yeah, and it's so frustrating because like women's sports should be treated better than that. Like, I was so dumbfounded. Like, have a reporter have the audacity to do that, thinking it makes me mad because it makes me mad because like these women, you know,
for sure, they shouldn't have to put up with it. They shouldn't have.
Yes, nobody should have to put up with that. No one should have to put up with that shit. Like it's disrespectful to the women athletes, but it's also just paints you in a bad light. Women's sports has fought so hard to kind of get to the point where they're at now. To the point, you know, softball they're getting so much viewership on ESPN. Like, it's now a recognized like thing. You know, volleyball, exact same thing. You know, basketball, you know, with the WNBA and all of that stuff. And to see that we still have reporters like that, like in those spaces that are being, I think it's, I guess this is what makes me mad. To think like this is an all right behavior to say that to a win, because obviously they will never do that to a man, like an NBA player, you know, and all of that stuff. So I think you have the audacity and the right to tell, you know, Caitlin Clark, like not just Caitlin Clark, but any other women athlete that's just like, it's frustrating and it makes me mad that people think that this behavior is okay, and it rapidly needs to be called out. Like, no, that is not okay. Like, I don't want to call for people's jobs and all of that stuff, but like that is borderline like fireable. Like, that's almost like it's low key harassment.
And I
don't. People have been fired for less things. I'll say that.
And I don't understand how, like, if you're covering Fever games, how you think that that's okay. Like, I don't know. It's
and just not figure against like any women's sport.
100%. Yes.
Like
Jacob.
Yeah, it's just fucking strange, dude. I couldn't imagine. You see those viral clips of like Coach Pop just like spinning the question on the reporter's head like with ease. Like I couldn't imagine somebody asking that question during a Spurs presser, any NBA, NFL presser. Unlike you guys though, I've never
like you wouldn't
unlike
do
you
that.
guys though, I've never covered fully like been the beat reporter on a woman's sport though. So it's interesting to hear you guys take. But I just feel that way as a dude. Like watching it, it's like, what the fuck? That's strange, dude. That's insane to think about. And then not only that, but like your job is to get the story, right? What's the story? Caitlin Clark is signing with the Indiana Fever. She's gonna officially be there in Indiana for the first time. It's gonna be like a whole like pomp and circumstance, right? Like think about like when Wimby got here last year around with draft time, right?
Yeah.
Like a month ago last year this time. It's going to be the same shit basically. So that's the story. What the fuck are we doing talking about if you want to do a sign about the gesture or something, that's like a feature we do down the road. But I don't know. I guess it also goes into that conversation we're having with Craven too. Like, don't ask your best questions at the presser. Not that was at all a good fucking question.
No.
But if you have something specialized like that, you're just fucking wasting everybody's time asking that shit. And that wasn't even a question. And you're weird, bro.
Just weirdness. And if you're somebody who wants to cover women's sports, if you're somebody who has a daughter who's like, in the position where she might like, this is stuff that you watch and you're like, I don't like that. I'm not a fan. Don't like that. Keep it moving.
And we're already at like such a weird place because what really aggravated me throughout the college or like the NCAA tournament this year for the women's side was like the mass demonization of the LSU women's basketball team. Like these women are thugs. Like what the fuck are you talking about, bro? First of all, I don't think that athletes at all should be looked up as role models or anything. Like, so I don't believe in this like, oh, keep it good for the game. Like, shut the fuck up, man. There's millions of dollars on the line for these schools winning this shit.
But let me ask you, what made you more uncomfortable? The run up for the LSU women? Well, I guess the whole season where they were kind of demonized, or the WNBA draft where these women are coming out looking good, dressed up nice, and getting like, hey, like I got some thought. Like that to me was almost worse.
Well, does that come with them like? Because now for the first time in like a year, 2 years, that it was back on regular TV again.
Yeah.
So I feel like that just comes with it. But also there's a bunch of hype, so it's like it's carried into the. Now there's memes online going, once the WNBA starts making $100 million and we start getting flued out, it's going to be some conversations to be had.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a meme going on online.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it just kind of comes part and parcel with it all too. Like, was this the best WNBA draft like in the last 10, 20 years? Yes. And also
we'll see. We'll see. Because like there's only 144 players in the league. So somebody's gonna get cut. And odds are it's gonna be a top 10 pick that's gonna not make a roster. So I hope that that's not the case. I hope all of these women have long careers, but
now the White House is advocating for change too in WNBA, and obviously LeBron, Steph Curry are also the guys that are like, we should change this.
I like Joe Biden. What the hell does he know about women's basketball?
Yeah, no, I don't think that guy has seen a single frame of women's basketball. But it really bothered me that people were like, "Look at these thugs from LSU." It's like they're playing a really aggressive type of game. I was like, are we talking about the same shit here? It bothered me.
They act like they're the Trailblazers. You know what I mean? They act like they're like the bad boy Pistons. Like
yes, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, everybody. Also, it's just a game. This is all just a game. This is all bread and circus to me. That's why I cover news and also sports.
Stop it. Look at Jacob. Oh, I'm Mr.
But maybe it's because of the lens that I look at all this shit through too.
All right, you know what? This is a perfect segue. Let's talk about Mr. News over here, Mr. Walter Cronkite. Who'd you see today, Jacob? Who's the celebrity that you interviewed today?
Dora. Another brown woman making a difference in the world. She took me on an adventure, baby.
Yeah, I don't want to hear about how, like, it's all bread and circus. I look at things through a hard news lens, and then he's talking to Dora the Explorer. All right,
Hey,
cool.
I was off the clock, by the way, for that. I
Uh,
cannot bill Ken's five for any of that adventures I took on with
I
Dora
bet.
the
Yeah, yeah.
Explorer.
He saw his childhood hero. He's like, this is the first time I've seen representation on television.
They were like,
Dora the
Jacob's clocked out
Explorer.
for this, right?
Yeah.
No, Andrew, you kind of brought up a point with when saying, is this the best NBA draft? And it's wild because people think like, I guess people are now discovering women's basketball. It seemed like, even though like the talent has always been there, because I still remember 2011 when because that's when when I started getting into women's basketball, because A&M's women's basketball team won the national championship. But one of the bigger But one of the bigger stories was like them beating, Baylor, because they lost the previous 3 times. They meet in the Elite Eight. They finally dethroned Baylor on the route to the national championship.
Kim
But
Mulkey?
I was going, yeah, Kim Mulkey was still there. Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. But it was
I know women's
interesting.
basketball.
But it was interesting, like, to see like everyone talk up like this current generation of women stars. And it was just like, I guess I found it weird because like the talent has always been there, but I guess the exposure has never, it's not to the height to where it is, if that makes sense.
You know what sucks?
And I guess
is when we have these conversations, I feel like one of those anime losers who's like, oh, you're just starting to read. Like, yeah. Oh, I read the comic book. I know. Or like those Disney adults who are like, wait, you just started watching Thor? I have okay, got it. So I'm not saying that that's what you're doing.
This is your anime. Women's sports is your anime.
Women's sports is
this is your Naruto. This is your One Piece. This is everything for you.
Yeah.
Because I still remember the days when like Candace Parker was at Tennessee and all of that stuff, and she was probably the biggest, like that Caitlin Clark, just like the biggest, superstar, but just not to the level of coverage like how
let's
she is. So it's just really
things that me and Caitlin Clark have in common. Okay, both of us money from deep. Both of us incredible leaders. Both of us.
I've never seen you go from half court.
Me and Caitlin Clark both looked up to Maya Moore. I had a poster of her in my room. Shout out Maya Moore.
I could definitely see your dad walking into your room and going, "What the fuck? What did I go wrong?" And I don't think you could fault him for that either at the time.
Maya Moore, one of the greatest women's basketball players of all time. Check the tape.
Mm-hmm. I always find it crazy that, a player like Maya Moore at the height of her career at the WNBA basically stopped playing to become a lawyer and fight for
social justice.
That you never. Yep.
Yeah.
I got to read up on the anime.
It's kind of crazy that we had one of those in football too, but Jerry Jones blackballed him.
Are you talking about Colin Kaepernick?
Yeah, I'm talking about Colin Kaepernick, bitch.
Okay. Well, the difference between him and Maya Moore is that
Maya Moore was much better at her job.
Yes,
Maya
exactly.
Moore was so much better at her job. I won't even front. Yeah, Maya Moore was incredible.
No, Colin Kaepernick had an insane rookie season, and then defenses figured him out. He somehow kept the job in San Francisco.
Like? Who does that sound like? It's a quarterback who had an incredible rookie season in Dallas, who defenses kind of figured out, and he still has a job. And
is that defenses or is that him getting the fucking ball away?
I'm just saying. I'm like, well, there's a guy in Dallas who has a very similar trajectory. Never went to a Super Bowl.
Hey, he's kept the job, Andy.
Is friends with the police department, and I wonder
he is friends.
That has something to do with it.
He is big friends with the police department.
I'm just saying.
Huge friends.
Pals, buddies.
Unlike
me, who's a firefighter.
Do you want to shit on the University of Texas before we get out of here? Because Craven watches this show.
I don't. I personally don't want to take any dookie on the University of Texas.
Well, we already talked about Dora. We've already talked about you. We've already talked about your car being broken into.
All right. So here's the deal. So UTRGV beats Texas in Austin, and we talked about this a little bit off the pod. And I understand why Longhorn fans are so upset. Colton is dancing on the graves of Longhorn fans. I get that. Because A&M has an incredible baseball team this year, and they might win the College World Series. Like, let's start the hype. I don't think it's that bad of a loss. I just don't. I understand that people are really upset, but UTRGV doesn't have a bad program. Like, they have a pretty good little baseball program down there. And I get
only their first win in 53 years and their first true road victory over Texas.
Against Texas. And but they don't, I mean, they don't play them like that. Like, it's not like an every season type
here's
of
the
thing.
thing about that. Here's the thing about that loss. It's not the fact they lost to UTRB. It's like how they lost. It was because the pitching, the manner of which they lost. The pitching stuff's really horrific for the Longhorns. Like, I think they hit like 8-9 batters and all that stuff. And it was like something like jaw dropping, and like a team like Texas should not be trailing UTRGV like 17-1.
And I get that, but the wheels fall off. You don't want to waste arms. It's a mid-series game or a midweek game. I'm just saying that Longhorn fans are acting like the sky is falling, and I'm like, okay, if the pitching gets a little bit better and the bats heat up, they could be a super regional team. I mean, is it impossible to say they could win the Big 12? I don't think so. I mean, and the other part about this whole thing, and as a Texas State fan, this is where we can localize it, right? As a Texas State fan, I can tell you that if you get super negative during the baseball season, especially now with the transfer portal, your life is going to be hell because the baseball team stinks. Well, okay, I'll focus on off-season football. Well, now we lost another guy to the transfer portal. Well, I'll focus on off-season basketball.
And now you're in the rabbit hole, baby.
And now
then you start watching a couple episodes of Squaring Around. You're like, what the fuck is going on here?
You just start to spiral. And I told UT fans, I was like, look, things are pretty good. You know, you're going to the SEC. Women's basketball had a great run. Men's basketball looks like they're retooling. Let's just, let's relax. Let's not freak out about a UTRGV loss. And
you've been cognizant, Andy, on this show. You've been the voice of reason.
I try to be. I just think that people are really excited, and they need to. David Pierce might not have a job in like 4 months, and maybe that should be the case. I'm not the one to decide that, but I just think people are really excited, and I'm like, let's pump the brakes. It's not that bad.
The big sad face for the UTRGV thing was that the game was broadcasted on the Longhorn Network, which I have just grouped into like propaganda machine for the University of Texas to show that their teams do not get beat by anything. And so there's no footage pretty much available of any of this shit.
This is
unless you pay for the damn Longhorn Network.
This is also true. Now, Colton, your Aggies are pretty good, is what I'm being told. Sources are saying,
Yeah, they're number one in the nation right now. They got a killer offense. I mean, I'm pretty sure they swept Vanderbilt, last week.
Yeah.
Yep.
Damn.
So, yeah.
Very good at the baseball.
You know what's funny? So my parents have gone to, I think, like maybe 3 college baseball games in their life. One of them was when Coastal came to Texas State in like 2017, 2018. And one of them was in that A&M game. And I asked them, which one did you enjoy more? And they said that they enjoyed watching Texas State more, but they enjoyed Bluebell Ballpark more. So I don't know how we fix that, but that was the takeaway that they had.
Well, also Bluebell's just like I don't know, like they've done so much renovation. Yeah, it looks like a minor league baseball stadium. Yeah. Also shout out to UTRGV. I didn't realize like they get like 5,000 fans to attend their baseball games. That's really impressive for like a mid-major baseball team.
Who
Jacob
just
to
joined
get that much. We can't say.
Yeah. What'd you say?
Jacob has a take that we legally can't say, but he can.
I've been out to that ballpark. Okay. I've been out to that ballpark too, so it's really nice. And that was before, because I have never officially been on campus when it was called UTRGV. It was formerly called UTPA before the merger of UTB.
Oh yeah, Pan American.
And then
Pan American. STIs that are just, what the hell?
So perhaps for the best that it's now UTRGV. There was a rise. Like I actually wanted them to retain Bronx as the mascot, the Broncos, but they went with the Vaqueros. So V's up for the little Cowboys from Mexico. The last thing I want to end on this podcast is squaring around potentially being part of the deep state of Texas State athletics. If you guys have seen some of those tweets,
this is insane. This is
because
legitimately crazy.
Literally, it just went to my head. It's all ego driven that we got to be on the athletics department's YouTube because Chris's SD card failed. So that was all us. And then I was in the elevator. And I was like, I can never remember what fucking floor is what. I always have to look at the sign. And then in the elevator, level 4 is the press box. I said cuatro. And I was like, oh shit. I ran around like I just saw a David Blaine magician trick. That's the deep state stuff. It all comes back to us, baby.
This is like Alex Jones level of like brainworm. The Jacob's like, we're making connections. The Charlie Day meme where he's like pointing. He's crazy, man.
I am. It's a sickness.
And this is one of those things that like longtime fans of the Squaring Around podcast can debunk immediately. Immediately, they know this is not a deep state podcast because
that's true.
One Andrew Zimmel is on it every week. And if it was a deep state podcast, A, I couldn't keep my mouth shut. I couldn't keep it a secret. And B, Texas State has a love-hate relationship with the Zim Master. It's not something that they are, great. We're friendly. We're lovers.
I actually wanted you on this show because you and I are very good at two different things. I'm good at the journalism and you're good at like shaking hands and kissing babies, which is what you were able to do for the first time in a very long time. I am declaring a fatwa against Andrew Zimmel's philosophy that we should root for another Texas teams when Texas State isn't playing. Flocks of suicide. Wait, hang on. Let me keep going. Flocks of suicide geese are inbound to the infidels' location immediately. Jesus Christ. This is your mentions that you live in?
A fatwa. It's a holy war against Andrew
holy
Zimmel.
War.
It's not. We're not
Jesus
a deep state
Christ.
podcast.
That was from Twitter. That's a real tweet to Andrew.
It's not. We're not a deep state podcast.
Maybe we are in the deep state.
No. Fatwa against Andrew
We
Zimmel.
went from being Ewoks on the little planet to being on the Death Star, though. That's what I think. We were the Resistance, and now look at us.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Members of the Resistance. But anyway, all that to say is that Andrew was asked by a few people to have some people on the show. So keep a lookout for that. We're going to have some badass exclusive interviews, all off-season stuff for
women's sports.
Okay, perfect. Women's sports. There you go.
Sports.
That's the perfect way to tease that up. And then I was actually approached. Oh, my bad, Colton. What's up?
No, speaking of women's sports, shout out to Haley Jones, Texas State women's golf, the first, Texas State golfer to win first place at the Sun Belt Championship since 2017.
Oh, another thing teed up perfectly. And then I was approached too by a couple of dudes on the football team. They were like, "Bro, when am I coming on the pod?" I was like, "I didn't even know you want to be on the pod." Sure, come on the pod.
Hopefully, it's more than the basement bar that we got. Oh, I'd love to be on the pod. It's like, all right, come on now.
We can't wait till you guys do a mailbag. No fucking questions. Shout out our boy Raymond McCumber for filling up the mailbag for us. Yeah, cool. Those are pretty much all the things I wanted to talk about. Happy spring, everybody. Spring has sprung. And now we can focus back on softball and baseball. And then talk more women's sports. Ooh. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Thanks for squaring, everybody.
We don't need no badges. I don't have to show you any stinking badges.
Better not come any closer.
Thanks for listening. New episodes out every Thursday. Follow the boys on Twitter. Eat 'em up. Eat 'em up.